I'm going to talk about properties of triangles today. So every triangle has two properties, a couple of properties that you can categorize them in. You can categorize them by their sides, the length of their sides. You can categorize them by their angles. So every triangle has something, belongs to one of the things in this column and one of the things in this column. Okay, so here are the side length properties. If a triangle has all the same three equal sides, all the sides are congruent, then it is an equilateral triangle. And you can tell that sides are the same length by these little tick marks here. So even if it didn't say 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, you would see that these are all the same. That's an equilateral triangle. Now, when a triangle has just two sides that are the same and the third one is not the same, that is called an isosceles triangle. Now, everything else, that is triangles that don't have any sides that are the same, those are called scalene triangles. Okay? Every triangle is either an equilateral, isosceles, or scalene triangle. Now, here's how you classify them by their angles. If one of the angles in the triangle is a right angle, which is a 90-degree angle, or, it's a perfect corner like this and has this little box here, which means 90 degrees, then that's a right triangle. It doesn't matter what these two are. If there's a right angle in the triangle, it's a right triangle. And if all of the angles in the triangle, all three of them, are less than 90 degrees, that is, all the angles are acute, because that's what acute means, less than 90 degrees, less than a perfect corner, then that is an acute triangle. So all of these angles are little, they're less than 90 degrees, so that is an acute triangle. Now, an obtuse triangle is a triangle that has one obtuse angle. Now, this angle here is 130 degrees. You can see that it's bigger than a perfect corner. It's bigger than a right angle. It's bigger than 90 degrees. So it is obtuse. And the other two angles are, if there's one obtuse angle, the other two are always going to be acute. So this is called an obtuse triangle. So every triangle is either a right triangle, acute triangle, or an obtuse triangle. So it's going to be one of these and one of these. So this is our cheat sheet. We went over this in class, and a lot of students tore this out and took it home. But here it is as well. So we'll go through we'll look at a few triangles and categorize them. Okay, so we have one here. Let me zoom in a little bit. We have one here that has that's 6 feet on one side, 9 feet on the other, and 7 feet on the other. Now, all of the sides are different lengths, just like this one. So it can't be equilateral, it can't be isosceles. It is a scalene triangle. So that's one of the classifications. But now we have to look at the angles as well. This is 87 degrees, this is 51 degrees, and this is 42 degrees. All of these angles are less than 90 degrees. All of these, in other words, all these angles are acute. Now, it can't be a right triangle because there's no right angles. Okay. It can't be an obtuse angle because there's no big obtuse angles here. They're all little. So since they are all acute angles, this is an acute triangle. So this is a scalene acute angle or acute scalene angle. But you have to have both of these terms here. So now we have this one. And you notice that there are these tick marks here. That indicates that each of these sides with the tick mark are the same length. Now, if we look at the list of side length classifications, we can see there is an example of a triangle like that. That is an equilateral triangle. An equilateral triangle has 3 congruent sides. This has 3 congruent sides. All 3 sides are the same. Okay, so it's equilateral. Well, let's look at the angles here. So I don't see any right angles, so it's not a right triangle. I don't see any obtuse angles, like this big one here. I just see 3 acute angles. So this must be an acute triangle. So it's equilateral acute or acute equilateral. It has to have both of those. So now we have the third one. Now notice that it has 2 tick marks. The last one had 3, this one just has 2. So that means these 2 sides are the same length, this one is a completely different length. So just 2 sides are the same. So it can't be equilateral because all 3 sides would have to be the same. It's not scalene because all 3 sides would have to be different. It is isosceles. So 2 sides are the same, the third one is different. So this is isosceles. This is isosceles. Now let's look at these angles. Now this is 29 degrees, so this is obviously less than 90 degrees. But if I'm not sure about these other 2, what I can do is put a little like piece of paper or post-it note and put it here, and I can see that this 90 degree piece of paper is bigger than this angle. Therefore, this angle is less than 90 degrees and it is acute. So this is acute, and then let's take a look at this one. And I'm not sure, I will just stick a little piece of paper here, and I can see it completely covers it up. This angle here is smaller than the 90 degree angle at in the corner of this paper. So this is also acute. I have 3 acute angles. It's not a right triangle, there's no right angles here. There's no 90 degree angles. It's not obtuse, there's no really big, more than 90 degree angles here. It is an acute triangle because all 3 angles are less than 90 degrees. This is isosceles acute or acute isosceles. So that is how you classify triangles.